world number 60, world type law, and during the time of law, inheritance was forgotten, and spiritual key, dried up. All this led to the fact that heavenly punishment no longer appeared in the palaces of the celestials. For any cultivator this meant hopelessness. And he said he found his way in this hopeless world. And standing on the roof, lightning rose around him, and the wind swirled. He said that he became the last cultivator of this world, and today, he will ascend. Continuing to develop lightning, the guy said that he would become a celestial being. The guy started telling me that his name is Hushu. He continued that there are many people in this world who believe that one can become a great hero, fluttering in the skies. Hushu added that only he tried his best every single day. He continued that he found all these ancient legends and walked around the whole world alone. Holding a brush in his hands, he was at some kind of blue seal. He explained that he was able to collect cultivation techniques that had been crushed into small pieces and scattered throughout the world. He added that he plunged headlong into these ancient remains of power, collected small particles of ki from this world. And only through his labor did he manage to strengthen his superhuman talents. And in the end he was brought here, and he raised his head, and said that they really exist. And looking at the phoenix, he said that there are still palaces of the celestials. Phoenix wondered how a common man managed to get here, and in any case, he should not be here. The guy asked himself if this is a phoenix, if this is not the same sacred beast that is the guardian of the palaces of the celestials. Hushu introduced himself, and said that he was not just a person, but a recently ascended celestial, and that they would soon become colleagues. Hushu was a little upset that he didn't take anything with him, and wondered why such things weren't written about in cultivation books. Phoenix replied that Hushu was late, and the palaces of the celestials were no more. Looking at the phoenix, he asked why they weren't there, and weren't they? As the phoenix flew away, he replied that the heavenly Tao had been destroyed, the heavenly punishment had disappeared, and the cultivation of 10,000 worlds had been cut short. The bird added that since those terrible times no one has appeared, or ascended to the halls. Phoenix continued that without celestials it is impossible for the palaces to exist. Hushu was indignant and replied that no one had ascended, after all, he had become a celestial being. Phoenix replied that his soul had taken possession of the true energy of the world of celestials, but since there was no heavenly punishment, he would remain the body of a mere mortal. She continued that he could never escape old age and death, and asked if he could then be called a celestial. The bird replied that she was glad that at least someone came here. Continuing, the phoenix said that therefore he would receive something as a reward. She will be able to send the guy to any of the worlds, if he is not a simple layman, but becomes a great long liver. And he will be able to experience any of the 10,000 worlds, and move between them absolutely freely. And if he wants to be reborn in the body of one of the creatures, he can do it. Phoenix added that the remaining artifacts and scrolls in the halls are no longer needed by anyone, and he can take what he needs. Hushu asked if in these worlds, there is an opportunity to ascend to the palaces. Phoenix replied that no, because the palaces of the celestials were destroyed, and the way here was closed. Hushu repeated Phoenix's words, that the heavenly Tao had been destroyed, and the path of ascension had disappeared. And it seems to him that she said that the reason for the destruction of the palaces of the celestials is the lack of new ascended ones. The bird replied that it was true, so the guy should choose peace for himself, and enjoy life, and that's all she can do for him. Hushu asked thoughtfully, what if he wants to stay here? Hushu continued that to stay here, and restore the palaces, to find the path to the eternal immortality of the celestials. Phoenix flying up and showing his wings replied, that if so. These are the palaces of the celestials, and the palace of the 9 shining stars, and including the phoenix itself. Phoenix turned into a beautiful girl, and said that all this would belong to him. The girl introduced herself that her name was Xiao Jiu, and he could just call her Jiu, and she was waiting for his instructions. The guy, in a stupor, replied that she had just been a phoenix, and now she had turned into a girl. The guy thoughtfully asked if she could become a phoenix again, because it would feel better that way. Angry, Tsu replied that her neck was already tired of bending over to talk to him, and normal people like this form of a girl. Hushu clarified whether it was true that she was transferring the heavenly palaces under his leadership, and whether she was to care less. Tsu replied that, to be honest, everything here is not so valuable, including her, so if he wants to rule here, then why not? Jiu asked Hushu how he wanted to use the heavenly palaces. Turning around, she playfully asked if he might want to take advantage of her. Hushu replied that he naturally wants to, because everything needs to be restored here, and no matter what he does, the first thing he will do is become stronger. And now let her run for pills, and there are caves suitable for cultivation, and let her tell about that star palace. Yehushu must restore the transmission of divine power, and it is time to catch up with what he himself could not find. Tsu coldly replied that there was nothing here, and there couldn't be. She continued that this place is in ruins, and the cultivation pills have turned to dust. The artifacts have also lost their power. Poking her finger, Tsu said that there are a couple of practices, but they are not suitable for a mortal body. Tsu continued that he could explore the rest of the palaces alone. And the palaces of heaven exist among all 10,000 worlds, and since they are now destroyed, it means that 10,000 worlds are divided. Hushu replied that she said that all the palaces of the celestial beings are now his, but it turned out that everything where he can walk is only a small piece. Lifting her skirt, Tsu replied that not so much. Tsu created a mirror, and with a solemn look said that this is a mirror of the search for gods. She continued that thanks to it, future celestial beings and celestial artifacts can be found, and it is still intact, although not good. Tsu continued that he couldn't use it to his full potential yet, but he could see different worlds, and suggested they watch it together. Pointing his finger at someone, Hushu asked why this person was shining. Tsu replied that this girl has hidden potential for ascension, and this mirror is needed to find such people. Hushu clarified with Jiu that he can get to other worlds through this artifact. Tsu replied that as soon as he saw a beautiful girl, he decided to be transported, and added that this hit her self-esteem hard. After warming up, Hushu said that this is cool, and it's time to start recruiting newcomers. The girl, without understanding, looked at Hushu, who was warming up in front of himself. Hushu said that she said that the palaces of the celestials were destroyed due to the lack of new ones, and therefore, in order to restore them, new ascensions here are needed. Zhao replied that this was impossible, because the heavenly punishment had disappeared, and the path here was closed, and even Hushu himself could not become a celestial. Hushu replied that let her relax, and let her not be able to be transported, but he ate the dog looking for opportunities to get here. 3. Jumping into the portal, Hushu said that it doesn't matter what happens to that girl, if she manages to ascend. The sky spun and mixed its color purple with white. Some girl with a pink dress and chains looked at the sky. Landing on earth, Hushu said that he himself would become heavenly punishment. Hushu said that transference with special appearance effects is truly only an artifact of the celestials. And he added that the transfer point is very accurate, right in front of the target. He greeted her and said that he was the heavenly punishment that she had to meet. The girl looked thoughtfully and asked about heavenly punishment. Hushu replied that he also thought it sounded strange, but now the palaces of the celestials are not so complete. Someone pointed a finger and shouted that who dared to invade the place of execution. Hearing, Hushu turned around and asked if this was really a place for execution. Hushu continued that this place, similar to a large altar, is more than a place of execution. He asked the girl if she should be executed, and the girl answered yes. Holding his head, he shouted that she was soon to ascend and become a celestial being, while she was sitting quietly awaiting execution. Tsu replied that she was already tired of repeating that the path to the palaces of the celestials was closed, and there were no more cultivators, and this girl had no chance. She continued that the mirror of the gods' search identified the target. Perhaps she had somehow reached the pre-celestial sphere. The army commander suddenly said that we need to capture that guy. Taking the girl, Hushu said that first, They should leave this place. Hu Xiu said, and drew the third pecha without letting go of the girl. The spell succeeded and Hu Xiu exclaimed about the moment. The army was surprised that he had disappeared and asked if this could be the spellcaster of the western regions. The man replied that he did not expect such a move from them. The man, also looking at the old man leaving, said the name of Mr. Zhu. Having moved to nature, Hu Xiu said that they would be safe here. Zhu said that he simply rushed madly on his own 2 feet, and pretended that he could be transported to another place, and also added effects. Hu Xiu answered what's up with this, and the main thing is that it worked. Zhu jealously replied that she did not expect him to run away with this girl. Hu Xiu say that how dare these pathetic mortals try to execute a celestial being, and he will grind them into dust. Zhao replied that he would destroy the weakling, and after him there would be someone stronger, and so he would raise his cultivation rank, reaching the very heavens. Hu Xiu replied that apparently Zhu rewatched the anime, and the girl stood up and became indignant because she did not understand what was happening. Hu Xiu said that he would start with him. His name is Hu Xiu, and he came to help the girl ascend. The girl clarified that it turns out to ascend and become a celestial being. Hu Xiu replied that since she knew what he was talking about, it would be easier, and Jiu added that there was still basic knowledge about cultivation in this world. Hu Xiu replied that they were in a hurry to recruit celestials, but first he would like to clarify something. He asked Zhu that the previous punishment was somehow testing the future celestials, to which Zhu replied sarcastically that he was a real pro in this. Hu Xiu asked the girl what she had done so wrong that she had to be executed. The girl calmly replied that she had destroyed the emperor. Hu Xiu asked himself why he came across such a villain. The girl said that her Molan, she was the adopted daughter of the Dr. Zhu Xing, and he hoped that she would become an imperial concubine. A few years later, a conflict broke out in the Dongling kingdom. Wu Xing destroyed the entire family of the emperor, and proclaimed himself anew. The heroes who rebelled against him had little chance, because he had a huge army on his side, and soon the heroes died. Her adoptive father Zhu Zhang wanted to end the unrest by uniting with the local authorities. He sent Molan to seduce Xinyan. Molan continued that she was very cute, so she was able to win Xinyan's heart. Later, her father ordered a beautiful room to be prepared in which she waited for the new emperor, Wu Xing. Molan admitted that when Wu Xing approached her, he revealed everything. While eating watermelon, Hu Xiu replied that this is a stunning plan, and Zhu added that let him tell only the main part. Molan continued that she did everything according to plan, took out a spear hidden under the blanket and attacked the emperor. But in the end she was unable to defeat him. It turned out that he was much stronger and more experienced than her. Hu Xiu said that they have completely different concepts of experience, and Jiu continued that besides, there was no need to tell the story about Xinyan. Molan replied that she was simply too weak and useless, so she could not carry out her adoptive father's instructions. Hu Xiu said negatively that he thought the problem was with her father, and added that he thought only an adopted son could cope with the emperor. Zhu added that their plan with a beautiful room was already a failure from the very beginning. Zhu also replied that if the handsome hero goes to that room, that cruel emperor, sneaking up in the night, would have done something to her. Khysy interrupted Zhu and said that it didn't matter. They must help her ascend and become a celestial being. Molan asked that these are immortal deities living in the heavens. Hu Xiu replied that it was spot on, and it was wonderful to escape from the bustle of the world and unite with the heavenly palaces, and invited her to join them. Molan replied that this was so interesting, and Zhu shouted at him to stop lying. Zhu said that they came to the most interesting thing, how he will help her ascend. She added that she would like to see what he could do in these desperate times, when nothing would help. Hu Xiu shouted back that there was nothing absolutely difficult about it. He ordered Molan to come where he pointed with his finger. Taking Molan by the ropes, Hu Xiu said that they would start with this. Continuing to bandage Molan's entire body, he said that then this. Tying the last knots, he said that now he does this. Relieved, Hu Xiu said that's it, they're done. Hanging from a tree, Mo Lan replied that, to tell the truth, she was not very pleased to hang like that. Ji Yu got angry and sharply asked what this pervert Hu Xiu was up to. Tightening the ropes so that Mo Lan hung even higher, he asked if there were any problems. He continued that in his understanding, divine judgment can activate the hidden powers of man through danger and pain. Hu Xiu also said that since he doesn't know how much Mo Lan can withstand, he said he decided to start with the safest option. Jie asked what happened like this he was able to ascend to heaven, and Hu Xiu replied that it was right on point. Tzu fearfully asked what it means, that in his eyes heavenly punishment should, and Hu Xiu continued her words, that punishment should punish her. Hu Xiu asked if she was ready, and warned that he was starting. Mo Lan replied that she was a little scared, but she could endure everything. Hu Xiu replied that he let go of the chain perfectly and calmly. The girl confidently shouted that she was going to meet dangers. Hu Xiu said that she should ride the divine wind, and she would be able to ascend, and let her enjoy the power of the wind. A little later, Mo Lan asked if she should just lie in this position. Starting to bury Mo Lan with sand, Ji Yu said to save her, because she could die. Later, under the water, Mo Lan said that it was so peaceful here. Ji Yu ordered to be faster than Hu Xiu, because she could drown. Hanging tied to the cross, Mo Lan shouted to the Great Lord. Trying to set her on fire, Ji Yu stopped Hu Xiu from doing this. Surprised, Hu Xiu asked why nothing was working, and it all had an effect on him. Tzu said that he has strange methods, and maybe he just decided to take the chance, and make his vile dreams come true. Mo Lan apologized that she was useless, and she shouldn't have bothered them. Hu Xiu replied that everything was fine, and the situation was just not that simple, and let her rest for now, he would come up with something else. Mo Lan suggested that she cook something delicious, since she has excellent cooking skills. Smiling, Mo Lan sat by the fire and warmed chicken with Jiu. Tzu turned into her previous form and said that it seemed to her, or that she looked pleased. Mo Lan said in surprise that Sister Sparrow had turned into a human, and Ji replied that she was a phoenix. Zhao continued that the stranger is forcing her to do all sorts of things, and she needs to escape, and Mo Lan replied that he saved her, so he is the new master. Mo Lan continued that it's normal to obey the master's orders. Tzu replied that his every demand puts her in mortal danger. Mo Lan replied that there is nothing wrong with this. This is not the first time she has heard an order to go into danger. Tzu replied that don't be afraid, everything will be fine with her, and even though it looks dangerous, but this guy won't let you go to another world. Mo Lan asked, isn't this all for the sake of his perverted dreams? Tzu began that talented gods are born in every world, and they become celestials thanks to cultivation. She continued that at the very beginning of the creation of worlds, the people of 10,000 worlds were stupid. In those days there was no cultivation. And people who felt the truth of the world, studying special skills, testing themselves and overcoming all sorts of dangers. These people became the very first celestials. Mo Lan asked that this is all true, and this is truly a divine judgment. Tzu replied that of course, it looks strange and funny, but these are all ways to enter the halls of the celestials. She continued that the whole world is trying to answer his call. Looking up, Hu Xiu said that it seemed like it was starting to rain. He continued that this rain is heavenly punishment. Running after Mo Lan, he said to come here quickly, and this is a great chance. Looking at Mo Lan, he saw how anger began to pour out of her. Jiu, realizing that she would now fly as far as possible, and Mo Lan said the name Hu Xiu. She unexpectedly got angry and attacked him, saying carefully. Jiu said that it seems that the spirit of rage, that belongs to Mo Lan, has manifested itself. Hu Xiu was surprised, and asked if this thing really came out of that girl's body. He continued that it seems to be true that she fought that dude with a spear, and Tzu replied that these arguments are out of place now. Tzu continued that mortal souls mix, and in the process of ascending to immortality they will become more and more burdensome, eventually destroying the entire soul. She continued that they devour all sane thoughts, turning anger into something more driven by pure evil. That's what the spirit of rage is for. While clapping, Hu Xiu thanked Mrs. Xiao Jiu for such clarifications. She asked how he was going to get an immortal soul, if the most important step in ascension was the destruction of evil spirits by heavenly sorrow. Having flown up, Tzu replied that a minute, let him wait 1 minute. Looking at Mo Lan, he shouted for instant grounding. Trying to pierce Hu Xiu with her spear, she raised her hand to strike. But Hu Xiu easily dodged the precise blow of the spear. Coming closer to the girl, he took something in his hand, and said that this was the first rune. Holding it out straight to her, he continued eating the spirits. And Hu Xiu said lightning, and a huge bolt of lightning struck right in front of him. Hu Xiu said that the problem was solved, and asked what Jiu said about her strength. Tzu replied that evil spirits are contaminated energy that suppresses ordinary mortals, and this entity cannot be influenced by mana. Hu Xiu asked what it turns out she can't speak human language. Tzu replied that this means that she cannot be defeated. Jiu shouted to save herself, and Mo Lan raised her hand for another blow. This time, having hit Hu Xiu, he flew back throwing stones on the way. Tzu apologized for doing nothing but stupid things, knowing that she herself could not do anything about it, and running like a madman into the mortal world. Tzu continued to apologize that she knew this. She knew for a long time that everything was hopeless. Tzu said no more victims, so be it. Standing in front of Mo Lan, she said that let it all end here, and now. Hu Xiu suddenly said that only true immortals can fight this thing. Unexpectedly, a strong lightning struck, causing Mo Lan to lean back. Hu Xiu continued that an impostor like him who does not know and cannot use the true essence of the immortal spirit, and then he will use the only untouched immortal soul for this fight. The spirit of anger Mo Lan tried to attack Hu Xiu again. Hu Xiu brought his spirit closer, from which particles of lightning appeared. And Tzu said in a stupor that this simply cannot happen. Rushing forward unexpectedly, the spirit of Hu Xiu attacked the spirit of Mo Lan. Spirit Mo Lan covered herself with her hand to protect herself. Tzu said that the force of nature turns into spirit, and the mind takes shape. Leaning back, the spirit of anger Mo Lan looked at the spirit of Hu Xiu. Spirit Mo Lan swung his spear to attack. She formed a strong energy that strove towards Hu Xiu. Jiu said that the body of a Taoist goes to death, and the immortal soul becomes a warrior. The spirit of anger Mo Lan jumped, and swung for a powerful blow. The spear quickly rushed towards Hu Xiu to destroy him. Jiu added that because of the obsession with great power, this immortal martial soul arose. And with his fist raised, Hu Xiu's spirit precisely attacked Mo Lan's spirit's chin. Tzu continued that the whole world, which had long ago left the heavenly path, seemed to respond to his presence. And as if in a single frenzy, the auras of heaven and earth converged around him, fulfilling their long-awaited mission. The spirit of Hu Xiu swung his fist again, flashing with lightning. Tzu said that this is real heavenly sorrow. At the battle site there was a strong lightning strike. After the strike, Jiu said that this is a victory. Looking at how Mo Lan lay behind the log, Tzu continued that, unfortunately, this victory is useless, because the only hope for saving the palaces was lost. Tzu began to create a force similar to fire with her hands. She said that they should let her and this world perish with him. Unexpectedly for everyone, Hu Xiu coughed, showing that he was alive. He said that this battle of immortal souls is even better than he thought, because he did such a great job. Standing near the sphere of fire, Tzu turned, and was surprised. Having finished the spell, she closed her mouth, and Hu Xiu asked what she was doing. Tzu shouted that he should not be alive, because he had no wounds after the battle. Hu Xiu said that even if he is not immortal, he still has some medical skills. Tzu shouted that this wound was inflicted by a demon, and mortal spells could not work on her. Hu Xiu asked, ridiculing Jiu, that even she couldn't heal. Tzu asked him who he was in the end, that he could survive. As Hu Xiu left, grinning, he asked, don't she know that? He continued that he is Hu Xiu, the last cultivator of this world, who vowed to become immortal. Hu Xiu added that for this reason, he is not afraid to restore the palaces of the celestials. Hu Shu touched Mo Lan, and said that nothing had changed in appearance or touch. Jiu hit Hu Shu saying that he wanted to do something bad to her, but Hu Shu replied that he had to check if her immortal body was condensed. Mo Lan woke up and asked why she was still alive. Hu Shu waved his hand and was glad that Mo Lan woke up. Hu Shu continued that there is no noticeable change in density, and he does not feel any aura. There is no true essence in the body. Tzu asked herself why this still did not work, because the heavenly sorrow had passed, and the fatal spirit had been purified. Sitting on her lap, Jiu was indignant that Mo Lan was not listening to her at all. Mo Lan sincerely apologized to the little bird Jiu. Hu Shu said that things like cultivating immortality come from the word recklessness, or fail. Sitting on her lap, Mo Lan replied that she was very sorry. Hu Shu replied that apparently she remembered everything, after all. Mo Lan was upset, and said that it was like a dream. She continued that all sorts of bad thoughts came into her head, and she understood that she was attacking. Hu Shu interrupted her by saying that it was similar to how he felt when he controlled his own spirit. His eyes lit up, and he told them to try again. Tzu angrily asked that he wanted to be held on the ground, again, and beaten to a pulp, while he played with the genjutsu. Hu Shu replied that it was just an accident. Hu Shu admitted that he is now completely comfortable with his own powers. He also said that the fatal spirit has been purified, and this time, he will try to hit her with a direct blow from the thunder grab. Suddenly someone's arrow flew and someone shouted that the fugitives had been found, and there was no need to let them escape. The commander said to use fire arrows, and this is the king's order to destroy them all. Hu Shu replied that they were found so quickly, it was even impressive. Birdie Tzu said that it's not good, and we need to get out of here. The guy replied to calm her down, and it was just a few soldiers. Having struck with thunder, Tzu said that if he lets them too close, then something will definitely go wrong. There was only one commander's helmet left, and Mo Lan said that they had all disappeared. She asked if she was hit by this lightning, she would look the same. Hu Shu replied that he did not want to, and they were the first to start. Tzu began that the mind of a mortal is scattered, and his spirit becomes unclear. As soon as he is in the zone of action of grief, he will become part of it. And this leads to the fact that the power of heavenly sorrow becomes stronger, increasing the difficulty of passing through. And now it is difficult to say whether this little girl will be able to pass a stronger heavenly test. Jiu shouted if Hu Shu was listening to her, and he replied that he had to ask her something. Are there any circumstances under which a fatal spirit cannot be purified by heavenly sorrow? Or will it continue to be reborn from time to time? Tzu replied that if it cannot be cleansed, then isn't it an obsession? Jiao replied that the spirit of rage is a manifestation of various bad thoughts that have accumulated in the practitioner's mind for years. But if the practitioner has some emotion that is very strong and cannot be released, then it will become an obsession. And usually cultivators cleanse their boots of karma, and in order to tune their minds they undergo special spiritual practice. Hu Shu asked what happens they need to improve Mo Lan's mood. Later, they went to a distant city, which they decided to go to with the divine talisman. Mo Lan asked if the master wants her to change into this style of clothing. Hu Shu replied that the way to make a girl happy is to go and buy her something, and Jiu said that Hu Shu clearly has some problems in her head. Jiu said if he had the money to buy one, and Hu Shu looked at the dress and thought that next time he would force her to wear it. Hu Shu replied that she would pay for her clothes herself. Later, sitting in the forest, he said that it seems that her mood is still not good enough. He continued that there isn't a problem in this world that a pot of soup or two can't solve. Mo Lan asked what happens just like this. People eat together on the street. After a while, Hu Shu said that it seemed like her efforts were useless, and why not try to cook a barbecue tonight? Later, Hu Shu said that the dream of someone like you who does not leave home is to freely travel to different places. Surprised, the guy asked why nothing was still working, and Jiu asked someone to save Mo Lan. Later, Hu Xiu said that he would have to use his best trick, but this would affect his cultivation speed. Jiu slapped Hu Xiu and told him to go to hell. Sitting already on the sidewalk, he said that he had already tried everything a person could want. And looking down, he asked himself why all this doesn't work. He said that there was probably something wrong with this woman, and Tzu replied that there was something wrong with him. Seeing the board, he was surprised that there was a wanted notice even here, and information was moving out into the world quite quickly. He asked if she was worried about her family, because he really didn't pay attention to it. They arrived at the temple, and the pink-haired girl was happy that Mo Lan was okay, and Mo Lan replied to Shuoyu that she was back. The girl in black thanked Hu Xiu that Mo Lan saved them, and her name is King Yi. Hu Xiu replied that King Yi's sister could just call him he, Xiu. He was surprised that they had such a large family, and King Yi replied that they were all adopted by the master and grew up together as guide daughters. Hu Xiu said that he remembered that he was the prime minister, and King Yi replied that her father had been accepted into the palace service by the king and would thank him personally tomorrow. Sitting in the bathhouse at night, Hu Xiu said that even in this world, rich people know how to have fun. Bertie Jiu said that the family seems ideal, and they are not working out because Mo Lan will have to part with the family. Wiping his face, Hu Xiu replied that he could not understand what a family was. Turning back, Hu Xiu asked if it was their turn to use the bathhouse. King Yi said that if Shuoyu doesn't mind, then they will serve their kind guest that night. Not understanding a little, the guy stood up and asked if they would serve him. Shuoyu replied that they were completely at his disposal. Hu Xiu asked if it was necessary to organize such a reception, and Jiu added that the mortal world is boring because of perversions. King Yi replied that he should not be modest, and if he was staying with them, then she should organize a cordial reception. Throwing the bird to Tzu, he asked if it really should be like that. King Yi replied that if he likes another sister after bathing, then she can call her for him. Shuoyu said that it is better not to get out while swimming, it is very cold to run back and forth. Hu Xiu asked if they were the prime minister's truthful daughters, and why they had to do such things. King Yi replied that it is difficult for people to survive in this world, and they try their best to repay people for their carefree life. And it is their duty to serve guests, or become a gift, but without listening, Hu Xiu asked himself that Mo Lan really yearned for such a family. Shuoyu suggested that perhaps he had a crush on Mo Lan's sister, and fell in love at first sight, and it was like a hero saved the beauty. King Yu jumped up and said that Mo Lan is the sister who should not be. She continued that her father always raised her as the wife of an emperor, so she cannot serve all kinds of clients. But however, the emperor has already been destroyed, so her path to the palace is closed, and that is why she was sent to that battle. Shuoyu said that he is so cool if he wants to enter the residence and become a client. She continued that they can't make a decision about it, and besides, she's probably following the family's rules now. Hu Xiu asked what that is. She is now accepting punishment. There were marks on Mo Lan's back from such blows. Zhao Yu continued that she still failed the task given to her by her father. Mo Lan asked if Sister Ji Xia had finished yet. Ji Mia replied that although she removed the splinters, scars may remain if ointment is not applied. Mo Lan asked Ji Mia if she had let her family down, and Ji Mia replied that it was natural, and because of her, her father rarely comes home lately. Ji Mia added that she shouldn't worry about all this, because she was able to return alive. Ji Mia finally said that she had already suffered punishment, so let her go to bed early. But Ji Mia asked if she still wanted her to stay with her like when she was a child, and Mo Lan said that she would like to. Ji Mia saw Hu Xiu, who greeted her, and said that it seems she won't be able to stay with her today. Ji Mia finally said that then she won't bother them anymore. Mo Lan addressed him as Mr. Celestial, and she replied that she should simply call him he, Xiu. Looking out from behind the door, Ji Mia said that before the father gives consent to the marriage, nothing strange should be done. Poking her finger at Jiu, Molan asked what was wrong with her. He Shu said that he does not know what their world is like, and what her life is like, and has no right to judge. He continued that, apparently, she loves this family very much. He Shu added that Molan can't stop worrying about them. Nodding her head downwards, Molan replied that he was completely right. And he Shu replied that then everything is fine, they need to go. Molan, sitting on her knees, asked where to go at this hour. Turning his head, he Shu replied that it was time to destroy. Later, the warrior asked how they dared to break into the Forbidden City, in the middle of the night. He Shu asked them if they knew where the emperor was now. Molan said that after massacring the armies of the 3 cities, Wuzin was afraid of being destroyed, so now he is probably in the Tongming Hall. A warrior in the distance shouted that he was a wanted criminal, and he himself climbed into the noose. And the commander shouted to the Chilean guards to take them. Molan said to be careful, because the Chilean warriors are an elite squad, and their strength should not be underestimated. He Shu said that it's okay, the main thing is to choose a place, and everything will be fine. He Shu shouted about the first talisman, the focus of souls, lighting his hand. Shouting lightning, all the guards flew away from He Shu and Molan. Molan asked what they weren't planning to quietly destroy, and whether everything would be okay after such a roar. He Shu replied that everything was fine, all the guards were stunned, and would not be able to report. Seeing the fiery beam, He Shu said that Xiao Jiu had finally returned. Bird Jiao gave Heisei a hard slap in the face, saying that he was a fool. Tsu continued that she left for a while, and he had already created such chaos. He Shu replied that nothing can be done, she wants to complete that task at all costs. Molan confirmed that her adoptive father raised her, and if she does not complete the task, then one of the sisters will have to do it. Tsu said with a slap in the face that it was not for him to help her, and she thought that he was not one of those who rush into battle at random. He Shu said that he did not intend to destroy anyone, he just wanted to help her open the gate. Tsu continued that this is not the point, and we can say that he is now a real celestial inhabitant of the palaces. She added that by interfering in people's affairs, he risks being noticed, and when his Yuan Shen is attacked, it directly affects his body. Unfolding his sleeve, He Shu said that it was true, that he suddenly got hurt. Molan said that then she'd better handle it herself, and as soon as she's done, she'll immediately find them. The soldiers ran in a panic to check the explosion that happened at the eastern gate. He Shu said that he originally wanted to clear the way for her to give her the opportunity to triumphantly enter and destroy herself. He continued that now, however, it will not be possible to do this. And He Shu confidently said that they would quickly finish the job. Meanwhile, His Highness was informed that they were unable to capture that criminal. One of the warriors said that he would take risks for the sake of a woman, and His Majesty could reward him if he took him into his own. But suddenly his monologue was interrupted by saying that it was necessary to destroy the criminal. One of the warriors asked, that doesn't His Majesty like to gather rare talents around him? His Highness replied to transfer the military camp to the capital, surround and destroy the criminal, and then go to the shopping street. He continued that compared to the greatness of the emperor, any capable person is simply insignificant. Everyone bowed down, and said they would obey the order. His Highness suddenly asked what was that noise outside. In a panic, the guy asked if something had happened, to which the second guy replied that there was no report, so everything was fine. Coming closer, the guy asked why it suddenly became so light. Suddenly there was an explosion of one of the bridges in the middle of the street. In panic, they began to shout that this was a criminal, and they needed to catch him quickly. He Shu cast the third talisman lightning fire demon. He continued that he was just escorting her inside, and what a frightening reaction. He Shu said that these simple arrows seemed to be enchanted, even able to pierce him despite the spiritual armor spell. Tsu shouted that human laws, the luck of the imperial family, and the greatness of the capital, are not jokes. And if he continues in the same spirit, they will attack with greater force, because the law is on their side. Molan said that the Lord Celestial has had enough, and then she herself. Coldly, Hishu said for her to hug him. Molan clinging to Hishu said that she would obey him. Hishu ran forward heroically holding Molan in his arms. As he ran, he saw and shouted Yuan Shen, who was already covered in lightning. Hishu said that everything is fine, and now they are in the same breath. And quickly flying forward he said that they would make their way inside. The warrior said there was only one person there, but the second warrior said he was going to break in. Meanwhile, the emperor sat in complete indifference to what was happening. Someone shouted for the guard to protect their emperor. A whole wall of shields was built to protect His Highness. The guards shouted that there was no time to play with them. Hishu shouted from the road, activating his first talisman soul focus. A dragon appeared behind the shields of the warriors, and was ready to attack. The battle of merging to energies of blue and yellow has begun. The warriors stood in complete calm holding their shields without feeling the blow. One of them shouted that he was already exhausted and needed to be grabbed. The warriors quickly moved towards Hishu, surrounding him and Molan. They are completely bewildered that he got here, and do not understand where such a daredevil came from. The emperor ordered that their arms and legs be cut off and handed over to the administration of the Forbidden City for interrogation with passion. But the monologue was interrupted by Hishu's spirit, and he and Molan rose up. The spirit suddenly attacked to destroy the warriors' shields. And Molan rushed forward, after Hishu said that her time had come. The old man ordered to protect the emperor at all costs. She said that Molan of Xianfu deals a crushing blow. The emperor said with an angry look that how dare she. Having pierced the emperor, Molan said that let him be kind, and leave the world. Without reaching it, the spear stopped at the very neck of the emperor. The emperor said that the spear is like an alarmed swan. 1,000 warriors cannot compare with her very good skills. He continued that she was loyal to the very end, breaking into the palace in the middle of the night, very brave of her. Even though she is a girl and already has a warrior spirit, Xu Zheng raised an excellent daughter. Xu Zheng replied that he does not deserve these praises. Molan turned around in surprise, and couldn't believe it was her father. Xu Zheng ordered the girl to put away her spear. Molan said that she would save him. Xinyan is not here, and they can hold him. The father interrupted the monologue and told her to close her mouth and put away the spear. Molan asked why she should put away the spear, didn't he? The emperor interrupted her and said that he was their man, and always had been. Zhu Sen said that the transfer of the throne was an important event in the country, and when they ascended the throne, the influence of the previous dynasty only increased. But if their old servant destroyed the emperor, then His Majesty may not care about previous troubles, and entrust him with an important matter. The emperor said that Lord Zhe had served since the previous dynasty, and he led the retribution, and this is still considered loyalty. The servants said that in the heart of the emperor there is the sun and the moon, and in the hearts of people there is only the emperor. Jiu said that there was a show here, of course, and he admitted that this old man sold those who were also involved in the destruction. Tsu said that now this girl seems to have no attachments left, and she can calmly become a celestial being. She replied that if this is indeed the case, then it is very wonderful. The emperor and servants continued to praise each other, saying that this conversation would go down in history. The emperor said that they needed to be captured, and given poisoned wine to drink so that their bodies remained unharmed. When the spears of the warriors were near Hishu, he said that he played along with them. The emperor said that Zhu is a respected official, and they value his talent, and not to sentence him to destruction is disrespect for the emperor and the law. Zhu said that her invasion, which won the praise of His Majesty, and to be included in the descriptions of the lives of famous women, is worth dying for. Molan shouted that to get into history, she is not at all ready to die for the sake of such people. She continued that she was very lucky to be adopted by her father, and lucky to live with her whole family. And sometimes it was hard and tiring, but she still believes that she lived the happiest life. And in order to repay for this happiness, she, Molan, is ready to give everything. Raising his glass, Zhu told her to follow the order then. Molan turned around and asked Mr. Celestial if he could leave here at any time. She replied that it was not a problem and asked if she wanted to leave together. Molan said that then she was calm and apologized that she could not become a celestial with him. Molan began to drink the poisoned wine that the emperor ordered to drink. Molan said that at least everyone can live a happy life this way. The emperor said that this reminded him that those adopted daughters cannot be abandoned, because most likely they are the same. Zhu said that the others' fighting skills were no match for Molan, and their subject only used them to serve clients. And tomorrow their subject will cut off their heir, sending them to a brothel as girls of easy virtue for officials. Jiu said that he already has too much influence on this world, and he is increasingly trying to reject him, and if he hesitates, there will be trouble. Shu said that the human world has its own laws, the problems of good and evil should not be decided by celestials. He continued that immortals and humans are different, and the greater the power similar to the power of immortals, the stronger its shackles. But if disgusting things are so dishonest, the sky can be turned upside down. Having attacked, he continued that even if he does not have such freedom. And having hit Shuya, he said that what kind of celestial being is he? Zhu was completely covered in blood from the blow, just like Shuyu's evil fist. Molan stood up and said father with sadness on her face. The emperor told everyone to come here and grab those thugs and ordered them to be destroyed immediately. Having gathered in a wall of warriors, they said that they would listen. Running to Molan, Shu said the fourth spell. And putting his hand on Molan and pressing him to himself, a stream of wind said. Molan cuddled up and asked what would happen to her family without a father. Shu said that although everyone has their own life, and an outsider should not point and instruct, but still he must say. He continued that her family would be much better off without her father. And throwing Molan back, he told her to only go forward. A sword strike was made near Shu, and he deflected. The guy told him to accept his punishment with honor. Shu suddenly shouted about the first spell soul focus. His spell was cut into by the guy's sword. And swinging his sword he continued that it was too late. The guy added that he begged for forgiveness from his majesty. Shu said that it is impossible for one general to be so terrifying. Landing near Moani, he said that fate is an unfair thing. Tsu said that the connection between heaven and earth has been severed, and people are responsible for their own affairs, and they need to prepare to retreat. Tsu said that this girl cannot stand retreat. Shu asked if she was going to get poisoned soon. The emperor told the general to obey the order, and destroy the intruders. Shu said that they didn't even think that the show-offs would be able to keep him here. And holding Molan by the chain, he said that now he would probably be too rude. Shu said that he believes that Molan will endure everything. Tsu said that it is impossible to open heavenly punishment here. There are a lot of people here. Shu said that Emperor Wuzhen is an inhumane creature. And he said that for this the heavens were filled with disgust. He continued that their anger would come down like thunder. The panicked warriors began screaming to be rescued, being destroyed one by one. While praying, one of them said that the celestial being would have mercy on them. The emperor dissolved and said that they simply don't believe. Shu told them to finally accept divine punishment. The entire palace caught fire from the amount of thunder and lightning strikes. Molan said that it was all because of her to the celestial lord, and she didn't expect it to be like this. Shu said that he seemed to have gone a little overboard. Shu continued that this is why he wants to say that he is actually against interference in human affairs by celestial beings. And if an ordinary person wants to destroy him, then he can fight back, or in case of injustice, in anger he can take the side of the weak. But the difference in power between the celestials and humans is too great, so the celestials must remain indifferent. Molan asked that Wuzhen and the father, and so many people died, and what will happen to the world now? Shu replied that he did not think that this was bad for their feudal era, they lived in troubled times. And the words that he spoke before the destruction of the terrible emperor should be used as divine instruction. And he can't say that the rulers will become better after this, but at least it will make them think carefully. Hishu suddenly shouted to raise their heads, "There are gods in heaven." Jiu hit Hishu, and said, that how dare he say such things, and pretend to be someone. Tsu continued that for the most part he will be able to avoid the consequences, but is his spirit capable of withstanding such heavenly punishment? Hishu shouted that she doesn't even know how much effort he put in, and went out of his way to maintain his image. Zhao continued that the girl even withstood such heavenly punishment, and Hishu said that he couldn't just watch her being destroyed. Nolan told Mr. Celestial that she was fine, and he wanted what was best. Hishu, holding Jiu, replied that exactly, about that problem. Continuing, he said that he left the cultivation technique in her house, when he left. And although his practice methods are chaotic, their advantage is that they are simple and reliable, and even an adult can start practicing. And what's more, they, as practitioners of immortality, will accept students, and help them practice from childhood. Hishu continued that he has never been in a sect, and does not know what it is like, but believes that this place can become even more comfortable, and warm. Molan suddenly asked why Mr. Celestial did all this. Hishu replied that these were not the thoughts, that she could not leave. He continued to let Nolan take a look. So many people were sent to the next world, the evil thoughts became much stronger. But earlier they had already connected with her spirit together, and the power supporting the immortality of her spirit had already disappeared. Looking at her spirit, Molan asked if these were really her bad thoughts. She replied that it was so, and now we must use heavenly punishment to finally cleanse them. He continued that by eradicating all the dirt that had formed and destroying her spirit, Hishu said that this would be her immortal spirit of the celestial. Molan squirmed and clutched her stomach in pain. Bird Tzu shouted that her body could not withstand such strong heavenly punishment. The girl said that everything was fine, Molan could have already been destroyed. Hishu said that the effect of heavenly punishment is to purify the evil thoughts of the evil spirit, and divine judgment helps to survive in this battle. And looking at Molan, he said that her task is very simple. And standing with her spirit, Hishu said that she needed to defeat him. And taking the spear, she said that Molan will obey the order. The spirits of Hishu and Molan rose into the sky to fight each other. Hishu extended his hand and touched Molan's forehead, causing a reaction. Hishu's spirit extended his hand and also touched Molan's forehead. Suddenly, the evil spirit Molan began to slowly collapse. Molan happily said that they were finally finished. An evil spirit began to emerge from Molan, and she said that it was as if a mountain had been lifted from her shoulders. Hishu said that the evil spirit was completely purified, and after heavenly punishment, a heavenly gate has appeared in this world that will lift Molan's soul. Jiu said that the key energy of the heavenly palaces and this world was reunited again, and it turns out that his stupid method turned out to be working. Hishu said that the heavenly laws can still be changed, although his body was almost destroyed due to the heavenly thunder, but everything will return to normal. Tsu replied that it is unknown how he broke into the palace, and then he himself fell under the distribution of heavenly thunder, and also survived. Molan asked what those heavenly palaces were behind those gates, and whether the celestials lived here. Hishu said that theoretically it is so, he is alone there now with the bird house, and inside there are only ruins, and if she wants to live there, then everything needs to be restored. He continued that this is why he is looking for people to help them ascend, and in this way he will once again restore the connection of heaven and thousands of worlds. And he thanked Molan for giving her a chance for recovery. Molan asked that having reunited with the heavenly palaces, would there be the same descent of the deity into the mortal world, for the sake of justice? She replied that one could say that he had experience, and the situation was special. He continued that in most cases, mortals manage their affairs quite well, and do not need gods at all. But sometimes in worlds where chaos reigns, all responsibility for maintaining heavenly laws rests with the celestials. Smiling, Molan said that it sounds good. Molan said that it would be great if she could participate in such a cool thing, and what a pity. He Shu apologized to Molan that things didn't work out between them. Jiu said that Molan was not a true cultivator, and after such a powerful heavenly punishment, she was able to hold out. This is already something. He Shu said that although it was not successful, they restored the flow of key energy with one world. Changes are already visible in the palaces, and he goes home to rest. Tsu asked that even after becoming a celestial, he plans to return home to the mortal world every day. He Shu said that he rented an apartment before ascension. A person cannot live in the halls. He added that besides, she also wants to be alone for a while. The wounded Tsu said that he still noticed it. He Shu said that he should have said earlier that you can't just go down to the mortal world. Later, He Shu was in the shower and said that what is becoming immortal, if the last one, is cultivating. He added that he also wanted to rule the palaces, restore heavenly laws. He Shu, lying in bed, said that in the end he ruined everything, just by taking. Suddenly, someone's voice asked Mr. Celestial. Molan asked, lying next to him, if these are the same heavenly palaces. Molan asked the Lord Celestial why everything is so strange in the heavenly palaces. He Shu held her cheek and said what a soft feeling it is. He added that other parts of the body felt the same, and Molan was in a stupor. He Shu said his verdict, that this is the spirit of a deceased celestial being. He continued that although her spirit was able to recreate the body, she herself had not yet realized everything. During the divine judgment, the cultivator's body suffered serious destruction, and it cannot withstand subsequent hardening. And since she's ascended, it makes sense to stay by my side after this. And judging by the situation in the palace, Jiu probably temporarily sealed them so that Molan could not be transported there, which is why she ended up here. Although he can't transfer there with Molan, he shouldn't do that, because Jiu doesn't want to be disturbed now. Molan interrupted his internal monologue by calling him Mr. Celestial. He Shu said that for now let her stay with him, later he will take her to the palace. Putting his hand on her head, he said that she is very cool, she has the will to win, and Molan replied that she was very happy to hear the praise. He Shu continued that he had already learned everything about himself, but her rise is completely different, so this time should be taken advantage of and learn everything. Interested, Molan asked what it meant to study her. He Shu replied that it was true, and they would do very interesting things, and Molan said that she agreed. Morning came, He Shu was already preparing breakfast, while Molan was watching TV. He turned and told her to stop watching TV, it was time for breakfast. Molan said that this person shrunk himself with a spell, and got stuck in a box. He Shu said that she needs to eat first, and then he will explain everything to her. He told her that when they go outside, they will buy her clothes, and Molan replied that Molan has no body, and she doesn't care what to wear. He Shu said that if she wore that ancient robe, everyone would look at her, and after breakfast they would go buy clothes. He Shu also added to make her relax, he will not disappoint her. He added that he guarantees that he will open her eyes to the world. A little later, on the street they stood behind the girls who were shopping. Molan asked that this is a place where non-residents live, and He Shu replied that in a sense it is so. He said that they would buy her underwear first, then everything else, and Molan asked why don't they wear underwear and dresses at the same time. He Shu replied that no one does that now, and let her just listen to what the experts in this matter have to say. In the store, he asked the ladies to help the girl choose clothes that suited her, and money was not a problem. The ladies began to touch Molan and say that she has beautiful dimensions, and Molan called out to He Shu. He told her to relax and would wait for her outside. Going out into the street, he thought about how Tsu felt there. Looking in the mirror, Tsu said that that girl finally got married and became a celestial being. She continued that she also couldn't shirk, and she needed to do this before they were transferred here. Tsu said that it is necessary to restore contact with the rest of the worlds, and the day will come when the heavenly palaces will flourish. A little later, they bought a tracksuit at another store to make Molan comfortable. While shopping further, He Shu bought 10 dresses for Molan. Walking into another store, he asked for Sukamizu A swimsuit for Japanese schoolchildren. Molan said that she already had enough of these things, and didn't need to buy more. Hishu said that they will also buy JK, a suit for high school girls, and OL, an office suit for women, and then go home. Walking with a bunch of things, Molan said that it was good with a tired look. They said on TV that the 21st century is economic independence. Both men and women earn money for themselves. He continued that this is a new world, a new life, earn it yourself, manage it yourself. He added that wealth cannot measure the value of a person, but a person who is unable to become rich has no value. The next day, Molan woke up on the sofa next to a pile of shopping items. Molan stood up and began tying ponytails in her hair. She also wore white shorts to make herself look prettier. Molan said that she will go look for a job, and as soon as she earns money, she will return immediately. She woke up and asked himself whether Molan asked him something or not. Molan walked down the street and said that she noticed, when returning home, how many people were looking for workers at the doors of establishments. She walked near some two guys who were sitting to her left. They saw that she was looking at job vacancies. One of the guys asked if she was looking for a job, and Molan asked if that was what they told her. They continued what they told her, and they have a job with a high salary, and all they need is her consent, and they will give her the figure. They asked if she wanted to come with them and see everything. Molan asked if she could go without any experience. One of them said that she just needs to use her body and this thing to ignite the hearts of men, and they will give her their money. She repeated that using an iron stick to kindle the hearts of men, such things. Molan continued that that's it, she understood everything. Meanwhile, Hishu asked where Molan ran away from him. And walking up somewhere he said that this is a place he often goes to. He shouted to Molan and opened the doors of the establishment where she worked. Molan danced around the men, and they repeated how much they loved her, and that she would repeat it again. One of the girls said that even now there is an equal competition in this field, and the second girl said that she would be better off going back to university. Hishu dragged Molan, and she asked why he didn't like her work. He said it's good that she's trying to make money, but it's not a reliable source, so she'd better be his system. He also explained to her that the system is a professional support, and he cannot do without the accompanying system. He continued that the system is similar to intangible AIs, and he has a cute little sister. Meanwhile, the gate was shining, and Tsu shouted out that it was finally ready. Tsu continued that, as expected, she repaired everything the way it was before, and we need to continue to connect small worlds. Suddenly, Tsu felt ill, and she began to imagine something. Tsu suddenly began to rapidly fall down. She landed and said that it was still too early to do anything. Later, Hishu said that tomorrow it was time to take her to the halls. In general terms, he had already told her about the situation. He continued that everything there is not as good as she might think, and many difficulties await them, and she said that Molan is already ready. After a while, they were at the gates of the palace, and Jia greeted them, and Molan said that they were not as bad as the master described. Hishu asked Jia how she could ruin Molan's idea of the desolate palaces, and Jia replied that it was not easy for her to do all this. Hishu also said that by talking about this, he should warn her. He continued that they were breaking up, and Molan could replace her, and she could retire. Tsu started screaming that he was a traitor. She was always next to him, and called her Candy, but he said that he never called her that. Hishu continued that Molan is very capable, and believes that she can provide him with the best support. He added that if moving between worlds causes her such harm, then he is not ready to pay such a price. Tsu held her cheeks and said that after all, she is so important to him. Tsu said that since he begs him so sincerely, she will turn a blind eye to his behavior, and will no longer follow him around. Jia also told Molan not to worry, and would teach her everything well before, and Molan replied that she would try hard. Tsu said that first, familiarize yourself with all the structures and their purposes. Tsu continued that it was the great warrior of heavenly wrath, who stood and combined all the fighting abilities. He shouted that this is romance for men. No matter what his strength is, he is already smitten. Tsu added that since then, thousands of years ago, the heavenly creator rested, there was no one to put him in order. Molen said that it turns out it's just a decoration. Tsu showed a forge where millions of warriors could be forged. And already 3,000 years ago the last celestial blacksmith died. Tsu showed a palace of mysterious animals with supernatural powers. Molen said that it turns out that all the celestials act as they please. Tsu replied that as a result, the Council for the Protection of Divine Animals put forward a ban, stating that celestial beings and beasts are equal. Later, on the bridge, Tsu showed them the abode of souls, where they can extract and purify energy from small worlds. Hishu said that he looked ominous, and she continued that then one should give the heavenly Tao in return, while maintaining balance. And in the past, the celestials who now rest in the abode of souls were incredibly strong, but there is no need to worry, because she connected only one world. She continued that, however, something needs to be done about this, because further they will connect more and more worlds. Hishu said that she is right, and you should not rely only on their method of recruiting personnel, because energy is not infinite. Tsu said that was true, and such a wise Tsu had already helped him solve the problem. She continued that since Molan had successfully ascended, the soul-searching mirror had received energy, and the search could be carried out at the sole request of the owner. She added that it works unstable, so whether you are lucky the first time depends only on luck. Hishu said that Molan went ahead and gave him the SSR. He added that in his experience, the first card always comes with a special surprise, and Tsu laughed that it was like they were playing a game. Molan extended her hand and said that she would try. Hishu was happy that it was really this golden color, and Jiu said that she was amazing and really SSR. They saw a girl with white hair in a portal, like in a card game. Jiu said that this small world is destroyed, and rests on the shoulders of this person, and they should be careful, and hopes that no Lan will look after Hishu. Hishu said that, as they say, the first time is unusual, but the second time is already familiar, and let Zhao wait for guests.